What's up, y'all? This is China from the Indie as Fuck podcast, and we have someone very special today, Karl Watson. How lovely for you to stop into the LRG headquarters. You know, you've been through here many different times, 25 years with us, but first time on Indie as Fuck. What makes you independent as fuck?
What? I'm on Indie as Fuck?
Yes.
What? I feel so honored to be on this show with you guys. And yeah, what makes me independent is the fact that I'm a skateboarder that has always thought outside of the box.
Yes.
So that puts me in a different realm already, you know, a weird guy that likes to skateboard and likes to go into nature and stuff. And I'm just independent as heck.
Okay. You know what? And you have been very so just that, just even from the time when you were a kid and your dad caught you skateboarding at 1 a.m. in the morning. That has to be very independent.
I can't believe that. Well, that was out of necessity because there's only one skateboard in our neighborhood. And that was the one time I was able to skate without being bothered by the other kids. So
1 a.m. you just went out there and just decided you're just going to try to knock out some tricks.
I'm pretty sure it started at like 11:30 a.m. And then, you know, he caught me at the tail end of my session. It was like, get inside. It's too late.
Wow. So you just knew from the start that this was going to be a passion of yours, obviously. What drew you to the skateboard specifically?
Well, I didn't really know. I think, so what drew me to skateboarding was the freedom of expression. Mm-hmm. The fact that it wasn't a team sport. It was you against your board. And, you know, nobody can tell you how to do skateboarding the way they wanted you to do it. You can only feel the way skateboarding was right for you. So that immediately just stood out for me.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it has become so much of you, even going back to Nick Lockman. Yes. Your good friend Nick Lockman, who kind of introduced you to the world of skateboarding. The story is really funny, you guys. Before him and Nick were actually like really cool friends, you guys were like beefing, like about to fight or whatever.
I can't believe you know this, by the way. How do you know this?
Okay, so yeah, him and Nick were literally getting ready to fight, and by the grace of God, the fight didn't go down. Yes. But as you moved into a different neighborhood, you wanted to go back and still visit your friends. One day, you turned on a different street, wrong street, or a certain street. Happened to be Nick's house with Nick's dad, and Nick's dad was like, come on in. And since then, you've always been, you know, about to skateboard because they introduced a lot. Tell me about it.
It was a very serendipitous situation. It was truly, I was being guided down this one street that I never skate down and ended up bumping into this kid that a year prior, he and I almost got into a fight because he was skating. I'm jumping off of a launch ramp. All my buddies were on bikes, and then he fell. I started laughing, and this little kid came charging at me with all this fierceness, and I'm like, I hope this kid doesn't embarrass me in front of my friends. And thankfully, his dad came, broke it up, and then a year later, I have a skateboard now, and I'm skating down this random street in my neighborhood. He happened to be sitting in his window, bored out of his mind. And then he saw me. He's like, hey, do you want to come in? And we became friends, and the rest is history. Like, he introduced me to the world of skateboarding from that moment on, and I have yet to look back.
Wow. That is so aligning. Was he the person that also introduced you into EMP?
Oh, yeah. Nick Lockman and Sam Smythe were the two people that introduced me to the Embarcadero EMB.
I was asking Chico, I was like, please tell me a little bit more about, like, I'm trying to understand and trying to put myself in that place back in that time. What year was that? It was like...
What year?
When he first started skateboarding at EMB?
Oh, I started skating at EMB like around 1990.
Okay, so tell me about that. He told me it was kind of competitive, and he told me that it was also a place that many were scared to go to, but yet there was a lot of tourists.
Yeah, skateboarding back in the day was very territorial. So we had our spot in Embarcadero, and people came from all around the world to skate the Embarcadero. However, they weren't always welcomed with open arms. So skateboarding always has this thing where they don't want outsiders coming in, but I think things are changing these days.
Okay, well, what made you so cool for you to be accepted so fast? Was it because you knew Nick?
That's funny. Well, the way I got accepted into the Embarcadero
How were you jumped into that?
well, I mean, it was because I actually jumped off of something and fell on my dang face. And then the leader of the crew came over and pretty much picked me up by the collar and brought me over to the ledge. And then I was accepted into the crew. So just by showing like effort, showing that I had, the gumption and, just courage as a kid, I went there, no fear at all, and tried something that I never had done before. And I ended up failing, but because I showed that I was willing to try, they accepted me.
I love that story. That's so cool.
Thank you.
How is that area right now? Like, is it still what it used to be? Are there still a lot of skaters, or has the city regulated the area a little bit more?
That's a very good question. So the Embarcadero, there are still skaters that skate adjacent to the original EMB, but it's not the same as how it used to be. I mean, back in the day, skaters would come from all around the world to visit this skate spot that was like the mecca of skating. And now they skate right across the street. It's a place called the Island. It's there's nothing to it, just a bunch of flat ground and some ledges. I'm not hating on you island cats. However, it's not what EMB used to be.
And with you traveling all around the world, have you, came across any places that you would say are kind of similar to what EMB is or was?
That's another good question. So I have traveled around a lot, and I would have to say the places that I've seen that are most similar to the Embarcadero, to EMB, were Pulaski in DC, Love Park in Philly, and just some scenes in Japan have that tight-knit vibe that we used to have too.
That's awesome. So as you mentioned Japan, I know, was Europe the first place that you visit outside of the country?
Yes.
And that was with clean skateboards, right?
Yeah. You did some good research.
Yeah, I told you.
That's super impressive.
Yeah, that's why I'm really intrigued with the story, because I really did do my research. But with clean skateboards, how did you get connected with them for the most part?
Well, luckily I was at the right time, the right place, the right crew. Growing up at the EMB, people from all over looked at us like we were the people to support. So luckily, I came across this young man named Kyle, and he just happened to have a lot of money, a lot of family money, and he wanted to start his own brand. And I just happened to be one of the guys he wanted on his team. So I was turned pro prematurely. And then luckily got to travel around the world because of this. And that really put the fire under my butt to actually become a good skateboarder. So that was a big turning point at age 17.
At age 17, wow. I mean, even going back to my interview I just had with Chico, it's almost like skateboarders live the life, you know what I mean? Because you honestly get to just do what you're passionate about, which is skateboarding, but you are able to travel. You have amazing people that you meet along the journey, and you just get to do this as a living. So I'm just like, is it too late for me to hop on a skateboard? Because I need to live this life.
Well, yeah, and skateboarding creates being a skateboarder, it creates a lot of camaraderie amongst other skaters. And no matter where you're at, you can just have a skateboard with you, and you don't even have to speak the language of that other person, yet they will let you stay at their house because of the bond that skateboarders have with each other.
Skateboarding breaks all types of barriers, from the skin color down to, origin, down to literally everything, language, like you said.
Size.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything. Like my children's book, My First Skateboard, I point out all of the key attributes that skateboarding brought into my life. And one of those main things is the fact that skateboarding has the ability to break down barriers such as age, race, gender, size, language, just everything. Skateboarding is one of the tools, sports, lifestyle, activities, whatever you want to call it, art form. It's one of those incredible tools that brings people together. And I don't know anything else aside from soccer that might have that same capability.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I agree. I know, I mean, LRG, of course, is like one of your number one favorite sponsors because you've been with us for 25 years. But bring us back to Expedition when you first got onto that skate team. I know that was like what you always talk about it being like your super highlight. You
Oh,
love that
wow.
company. But what was it about Expedition that you love so much?
Well, getting on Expedition was a very pivotal point in my life because my lady we were pregnant, 8 months pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
and the company that I had ridden for prior to Expedition went out of business. So we were like, what are we gonna do? So I got a job at this pizza restaurant, Za Pizza, working 14-hour shifts, busting my butt. And then on one of those shifts, I happened to be looking in the magazine. I saw Expedition 1.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, they have 2 brothers on this team. This is very interesting because usually it was like the token brother on a skate team. But I was like, oh, things are changing. This company's more open-minded. So I called them up, and they put me through some challenges, and I passed all of those challenges, and I ended up getting on the team about like 8 months to a year later.
Wow. So it was literally that easy?
Well,
I mean, those challenges, but like it was just a phone call.
Yeah. It just took a phone call with the right energy, the right intent, and it was just it worked out, thankfully.
Wow. Was this pregnant during a time with your son that was also in the LRG campaign?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was when, Elon, my oldest son, he was in the womb during that time.
That's amazing. So one thing that I want to know, I know you started Organica and that extremely successful, but I want to know, would you ever revisit the ASM concept, the altered state of mind that you kind of wanted to have Organica like in the beginning, but would you see yourself doing a ASM,
So
right now?
The fact that this incredible interviewer knows this, I don't know how you found about that name.
Yes.
It was only mentioned once in a very old interview. So to your question, Organica was not, the name wasn't my idea. It was my partner's idea because it emulated Troy, my partner Troy's idea, because it represented my lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to have anything come out that represented my lifestyle like that. But, so Altered States of Mind was the name that I chose because I was really into meditating and just going deeper into, the universal thought and just what life can bring me, just through my controlling my energy and just going deeper. So at the time, Altered States of Mind was the name I wanted. But, my man Troy, he had foresight, and then we created Organica. And we stayed. We were up and running for about 15 years.
Would you, do like a rebrand and maybe do a ASM type situation? I still think that's a lovely name, and I like the concept. Do? Yeah, I like the concept behind it.
Hey,
too.
Perhaps.
Hey, I think you should.
Yeah. Maybe I'll look into it and reconsider bringing that name back.
Okay, I would love that. I like how you said just altered states of mind. In an interview, you were talking about how you had like a foot issue, and I always have feet problems because I'm flat-footed. So like I always am just going through like foot problems. But you talked about Reiki helping your foot, and I've never even thought to even think of taking that approach with with my foot issue, my foot pain. Tell me about Reiki and how that kind of helped out with your pain.
That's awesome that you know that. So I was about to go on a trip to China with LRG, but I couldn't walk because I had a horrible plantar fasciitis. I could skate, I can push, I can do tricks, but for some reason I couldn't walk. I couldn't press like that. So I went to my friend who did Reiki on my way to the airport. He worked on me for like 2 hours, and miraculously I was able to like walk around China with the guys and skate decently. But because of him doing that work on me, or I don't know if it was like a placebo or what, but he really helped me to be able to skate on that trip. So I got a lot of good stuff on that trip. So if it weren't for him, I don't think I would have been able to accomplish those goals.
Wow. Talk about the injuries throughout the years of skateboarding. Which one has to be like your worst injury that you've ever
my God.
experienced?
Well, when I was 14, I broke my tailbone.
Oh.
And so just trying a random trick at the World Skate Park, I fell backwards and from really high up and landed on this steel plate and cracked my tailbone. I couldn't walk for 2 weeks, but that was one of the worst. But the one that's really bad is it was on this island called Mallorca in Spain. I was trying to get this trick. It was maybe 3 hours before we're going to fly back to Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
And we were there for a magazine working on an article. And I was like, I really want to make sure, I get something substantial for this article. So I'm trying this trick on this really high shootout ledge. It's about 12 feet high. I don't know. It seemed enormous, the drop. And on one of the tries, I fell and landed on my head. And I ended up fracturing my skull in 6 places. My tooth broke off inside of my lip. So this is a fake tooth right here. And
wow.
Yeah, I'm still dealing with the issues to this day.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. No, hey, just joking there. But definitely a lot of crazy stuff happened after that. So I'm just very thankful to be here talking to you guys.
Hey, yes, we're very thankful that you are here. It's interesting what Chico and Kelly kind of brought to my attention. When you do go through an injury, it's so important to also maybe hop into something else. Like I know Chico said he started doing cycling, Kelly jump rope fanatic, but doing things that that keep you going until you're able to get back onto the board, which is really nice.
Do you want to know what I did?
Yeah, what did you do?
So whenever I'm injured, I love nature. I always go into nature, and I love meditating and stuff like that. So whenever I'm injured, the things that I do to keep myself okay on the board is I think about skateboarding. I visualize myself doing certain tricks. And sometimes I'll get so deep into it, I'll start sweating, but then it helps me stay good on my board, I guess. Even if I'm out for a year, I can get back on the board and somehow I'm able to still flip my board.
I love that. That is so cool. Okay, so getting back, or let's go into your author side of things. I mean, I love how you're so multifaceted in so many different ways, but I know you have My First Skateboard, and it was originally supposed to be a screenplay.
Yeah.
But you ended up having to shorten it just because it was just too much, and then you made it into that book. But would you ever redo it into a screenplay? Like you always imagined it to be?
I'm not the best screenplay writer. I read screenplay writing for dummies, and so I started writing screenplays just based off of that knowledge. And so I came up with the story, My First Skateboard, and it's better as a children's book. But maybe I'll reconsider turning it into an actual film, a little short.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Thanks for the inspiration.
Yes, I think you totally should. Within 2025, do you see yourself putting out any more books, children's books?
Oh, yeah. Actually, we are planning on releasing 2 more books this year.
Oh, could you give us a little bit of the names or details?
Well, it's in the My First Skateboard lane, so it's pretty much
my second skateboard. Right?
No, it's not my second skateboard. It pretty much they're just. It's like a history lesson, about skateboarding in the city, San Francisco, and, how we went from EMB and over to other spots, and just that process told in a fun, easy to digest kid way.
Okay. So, Karl, before we end this interview, I just really want to highlight the fact that you've been with LRG for 25 years now and how powerful and amazing that is. I mean, you were with LRG before it was before it was even anything, and you had the opportunity to go with Quicksilver.
Oh, yeah.
But then you decided to go with LRG. What made you want to take that route in such the early stages of things?
Thank you for asking that question.
You're welcome.
So early on when I came across LRG, I was really at the peak of my career, just And so I had an option to ride for either Quicksilver or this new brand, Lifted Research Group. And so the guys flew me out here to like Irvine, Santa Ana area. I went to LRG's first warehouse, which was very small. And I met with Robert. I met with Jonas. We were hanging out in the warehouse. They described their story to me, and it just inspired me it inspired me more than any dollar amount, So I was like, I believe in these guys. I feel like they're going to go far, and I just like their story. So I decided to stick with LRG, and now look, 25 years later, we're still here. I mean, I think I made the good choice.
That's right. You did. Well, Karl, thank you so much for coming on the Indie as Fuck podcast. Your story is so inspirational and so aligning. You know what I mean? Like as I interview all these people, I realize like we are really born with a purpose and a passion. And when those two align, it's like everything just falls into place. Taking wrong turns on streets, that get you to a certain point, but everything, is just so aligned in that type of way. So.
Well, I'm honored to be on your show. Yes. Thank you guys for having me.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you guys. Peace.